This is the third year in a row that right-wing extremists have been connected to all identified extremist-related killings, meaning they also said that in 2023 and 2022. This trend has also been interrupted by the New Orleans attack. All. Well, I'm old enough to remember the three most popular examples of political violence in 2024. And all three of them were committed by leftists. We've actually seen a ton of transgender violence and a ton of leftist violence. And this is part of the thing that I also want to get to as we're talking about this, right? So I got in a conversation with a moron on Facebook, whose name I'm going to withhold from you guys, of course, because she is not a public figure. Nevertheless, she shared a ADL source that was saying that the majority of violence was actually taking place on the left-wing side, right? And in fact, included in this source was a claim about all political violence from the year 2024. Okay? All political violence from the year 2024. And they said all political murders in 2024, this is a direct quote, this is from the Anti-Defamation League. All the extremist-related murders in 2024 were committed by right-wing extremists of various kinds, with 8 of the 13 killings involving white supremacists and the remaining 5 having connection to anti-government extremists. This is the third year in a row that right-wing extremists have been connected to all identified extremist-related killings, meaning they also said that in 2023 and 2022. This trend has also been interrupted by the New Orleans attack. All. Well, I'm old enough to remember the 3 most popular examples of political violence in 2024. And all 3 of them were committed by leftists. Right? What was the first one? The attempted assassination of U.S. President Donald Trump. Well, yeah, but they said murders. They failed to kill Trump. They did kill somebody. Or did you guys forget about that? Did you guys forget that Thomas Crooks actually did kill one of the people in the crowd there? Oh, yeah, you did, didn't you? Shocking. I'm super shocked that you guys didn't remember that. Corey Comparatore, a 50-year-old former volunteer fire chief, a father, a husband. At 50 years old, he may have even been a grandfather. I don't know. He was attending the rally with his family. He died shielding his wife and 2 daughters from the gunfire. No instances in 2024 of politically motivated murders on the left. Okay, well, that was the first most popular. What was the second most popular instance of political violence in 2024? Oh, that's right. Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, was murdered in December of 2024. He was murdered by that guy, I believe it was, you pronounce his name Mangione. Not 100% sure about that, but Luigi Mangione, we're going to call him that. He was murdered by Luigi Mangione or Mangione, like I said, I don't know how you say it, in 2024. Who was, oh, that's right, a leftist and Brian Thompson was killed because of an anti-corporatist sentiment, a left-wing ideology, and an anti-healthcare industry sentiment, a left-wing ideology. And by the by, I'm not even necessarily defending everything there in the healthcare industry, because I do think we have a lot of problems in the healthcare industry, particularly as it pertains to insurance. Guess what? Still didn't deserve to die. But that's another instance. That's at least 2 different bodies in 2024. Fascinating. I was under the impression that there actually was no instances of political violence in 2024 on the left. According to the Anti-Defamation League, there was 0 instances of political violence in 2024 committed by the left. That's fascinating that the literal 2 most popular killings were left-wing killings. Do you think maybe the Anti-Defamation League is fudging the data? I'd say they are. Matter of fact, I wrote a little list for you guys. Remember, they said 2024, 2023, and 2022, all politically related murders were right-wing. Here's a list. We're going to start with the killing of Charlie Kirk, and work our way backwards. You ready for this? September 10th, 2025, leftist murders Charlie Kirk for having a respectful dialogue on college campus. Numerous leftists, from Brady Godwin, fanatic, to David Fitzgerald, to MSNBC's Matthew Dowd, and others, proceed to mock his death or imply that he had it coming. On August 27, 2025, a delusional transgender man shoots up a Catholic school and kills 2 small children. Shooter posts things like "Kill Trump" and the pride flag on his social media. Sounds like left-wing political violence to me. On April 22nd, 2025, a violent criminal who was released by activist Democratic judges 14 times kills a young woman, Irena Zarutska, on camera, unprovoked. Rhetoric from the murderer seems to hint at the attack being racially motivated. He says, and I quote, "I got that white bitch." June 6, 2025, mass riots break out in LA, motivated by anti-immigration sentiment, or anti-control of immigration sentiment, anti-ICE sentiment, right? Rioters openly declare the land that they are on Mexican, even though it's California, and at least 27 are injured. On May 21st, 2025, Elias Rodriguez murders 2 Jews at the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. The perpetrator, is motivated by left-wing political ideology, specifically as it pertains to pro-Palestinian sentiment. On April 13th, 2025, Democratic governor, a member of the Democrat Party. He was almost the vice presidential candidate in the 2024 race. On April 13th, 2025, Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro has his house set on fire by Cody Allen Balmer. While Balmer is a political independent, his motivation for attacking Shapiro is anti-Israel sentiment. Note, Shapiro is a Jew and a proud Israel supporter. On April 2nd, 2025, Carmelo Anthony murders Austin Metcalf unprovoked. Leftists immediately start a fundraiser to pay his bail and legal fees. On December 4th, 2024, leftist Luigi Mangione assassinates Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare. He immediately becomes a leftist folk hero, with between 40 and 60% of left-leaning individuals between the ages of 18 and 29 considering him a hero. That is not a right-wing statistic. That is a statistic from Pew Research. September 15th, 2024, Ryan Wesley Ruth, known to support socialists like Bernie Sanders, attempts to assassinate then-candidate Donald Trump. July 13th, 2024, Thomas Matthew Crooks, known to contribute to leftist think tanks like Act Blue and support leftist policies, attempts to assassinate then-candidate Donald Trump. May 1st, 2023, Daniel Penny is slandered by journalists and arrested for being a hero. That's not exactly an example of left-wing violence, but I listed it here anyway. March 27, 2023, remember, there were no politically motivated murders in 2023, according to the Anti-Defamation League, on the left-wing side. Which means this March 27, 2023 example must not have happened. Delusional transgender shoots up a Presbyterian school, Covenant School, in Nashville, Tennessee, kills 6, mostly children. Shooter is openly motivated in her manifesto, was somebody who identified as a man but was born a woman, was openly motivated, according to her manifesto, by anti-Christian sentiment. June 8th, 2022, another transgender individual attempts to assassinate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. According to Nicholas Rosk, who is the transgender individual, the motive was fear of losing abortion rights. Jackson v. Dobbs had not yet been decided, but was known to be coming down the pipes. In the summer of 2020, multiple riots take place across the country in multiple states for alleged racial injustice in America. At a minimum, 19 individuals are killed, and as many as 40 may have been killed. $1 to $2 billion in damage is done. Multiple capitals are overtaken, and a self-described autonomous zone, which is an actual insurrection, by the way, not like that bogus nonsense we saw on January 6th, is declared in Seattle on Capitol Hill. Look up Chaz if you don't believe me. CHAZ, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. There, of course, was February 1st, 2017, when Berkeley students rioted over Milo Yiannopoulos speaking at their campus. Riots ended up continuing for 7 months, and 18 were injured. There was June 14th, 2017, when anti-Trump terrorist James T. Hodgkins attempted to assassinate then House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. There was November 10th, 2016, when anti-Trump riots broke out in Portland and 4 were injured. Rioters were self-described anarchists. I can go on, because you know what we didn't mention in any of those particular instances? We didn't mention 6 of the last 8 transgender mass shootings. We didn't mention in any of those different instances the assault on Rand Paul. We didn't mention in any of those particular instances the Inauguration Day riots in Washington, D.C., January of 2017. I believe it would have been the 24th. We didn't mention in any of those instances the vast amount of anti-white violence that is captured all the time on websites like TikTok. We didn't mention any of those things. There are so many things not on this list, that I could have mentioned but didn't mention. But the Anti-Defamation League would like you to believe that there was not any leftist motivated murders in 2022. I just gave you 6. That there was not any leftist motivated murders in 2023. And here, let's see, did we list any from 2023 in this list? No, the only thing for 2022 we listed is when Justice Brett Kavanaugh was only attempted to be assassinated. They said none from 2024. We listed at least 2 different and 3 separate instances. But apparently it doesn't happen. These are the people who you're supposed to be trusting with these kinds of statistics. They're clearly fudging the statistics. No, we just won't count. Even though the shooter at the Covenant School was openly motivated by anti-Christian sentiment, even though she openly said that she wanted to strike a blow at the Christian schooling movement, apparently that doesn't count.